Take it soon after your lit block. There are a lot of terms and vocabulary that will be fresh in your brain during your literacy block that will soon fade, especially depending on what other add-ons you have with your elementary. Wonderful. Anything else? Reviewing your notes. Also good. Did anyone mention the College of Ed page?
I heard it over here.
I'm seeing nods. If you go to the College of Education page on Moodle, under the MoCA tab, there is a long document that has feedback from those who have taken the test, and they put things that they thought were helpful to study in preparation for the test, which might include whatever they can remember about the questions that were just on the test. So I would highly recommend going to the College of Ed page, finding that PDF, and studying through that. That has not only ELA, but social studies and science and math as well. Wonderful. All right, to get us started off, everyone should have their questions and their bubble sheet, correct? Yes. Wonderful. What I need you to do, we'll say groups of 3, and you don't have to move your chairs, just kind of group. Because as we go through our Nearpod, our questions are going to be the same, so if you got different answers, we'll talk in our groups first, and then as a large group, because we know talking in small groups makes us more courageous. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. All right, I need you to log into Nearpod using the code YBMLO. I have a handful of friends. Is there anyone having troubles logging in? I only have 12 friends, and we have a lot more than 12 friends in the room. So I'll give you a hot minute to get in. Your page should look like my page on the board. Oh, I closed out of it, didn't I? Sorry, friends who were just joining us. There you go. Now it's nice and big. All right, we have 16, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 16's closer than 12. Is there anyone who still needs to log in? Seeing none, let's go ahead and get started. So have your bubble sheet handy. These questions should go one by one with the questions that you have on your bubble sheet? Do they not?
No.
They're different questions?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I know this is a question. I just don't know.
They're just out of order?
Yeah.
All right. Then you'll just have to bear with me.
Are you sure what the question is? Something like that. I didn't see it on here. Maybe I see it on here. I don't see it on here.
All right. Then they might be additional questions. So if it's not on your sheet, just answer your best guess. Awesome. So question number 1. By the time students are in 4th and 5th grades, teachers expect the students to be fluent in reading, which comes from having and using a large repertoire of identification skills. Which of the following best lists the characteristics of fluency? What? Does it not? What kind of nonsense is this? Okay. Is this one?
It showed us the question.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, friends.
Yeah. When you're on the next page. Yeah, we can.
Trial and error.
Is this number 1 on the?
No.
So we just have to try to answer it.
Yes.
What is the answer on here?
On Nearpod.
We don't need to all sheet.
Okay, since it's being weird, I'm also going to log in as a student.
Are you elementary or middle school? No, I'm in this middle school. And I'm going to get the secondary one. Are you doing this? No. This is 50 yards from middle school and then 9 years older. You guys are not so right because like, you don't go into the field until you're 7 o'clock. That's so weird. I don't know what they did. Peg morning is just like talk about it and then peg because it's like so rigorous. I know that they're
All right, so is everyone getting the pie chart of correct versus incorrect? So someone raise your hand, tell me what was the correct answer. Yes.
understanding connotative meaning along with the rate and accuracy of reading.
Yes. Question 2. To provide for increase of phonemic fluency rate, an elementary teacher would incorporate which of the following activities into the lesson? Story recall timelines, having the class read a story independently, create a timeline on the board. Clock readings, divide the students into pairs, provide each pair with copies of the text and set the time. Genre choice, create a genre wheel including realistic fiction, autobiography, historical fiction, etc. Or have the students create a new title for the story accompanied by artwork as a book cover. So which of these would increase phonemic fluency rate? Phonetic, my bad. Phonetic. So the correct answer was clock readings. Divide the students into pairs and provide each pair with a copy of the text, because that way they actually have the text. If you miss that one, does it make sense? Yes? No?
Do they do like clock readings to like throw us off? Because you're assuming that it would be about literacy as opposed to, I guess it is literacy, but whatever I think mom or any of that.
The clock reading comes from the fact that you're setting the time for how long those pairs are reading. Does that answer your question? Awesome. Question number 3. Mr. Peter wants to provide more independent reading materials for his 4th grade students. This means that he will need to listen to a number of students read aloud short passages from various reading levels, and that these students will not become frustrated no matter what they read, make no more than 8 out of every 80 words read aloud, make no more than 1 error out of every 20 words read aloud, or stop frequently to ask about word pronunciation. Most of us are getting it correct. Hello, hello. If you're here for the review, I'll put the Nearpod code up on the board. Hello, Dr. B. I mean, this one's real confusing. If she's got the other one that goes with the packet, I suggest we do that one.
Well, hers is 25 questions with several repeats. So that's why it's not 39, because the one thing they got were the repeats, so she took those out.
Okay. Yes, I would prefer that.
Okay.
All right. What we are doing is going to the Nearpod that is actually your questions and not supplemental review questions. That way it's less confusing. Hopefully. I know. We're just switching Nearpod to the questions that you prepared. Who sent it to you? And how did she send it to you?
She sent it to me. In the library, and I did, and it's not there.
Okay, I would pull up your email then. Thank you for your patience through our technical difficulties. I appreciate you guys. And you guys. I'm hoping there's someone on there. Awesome. Thank you to you, one person. If you came in late and need to sign up here so you get credit from your teacher, now would be a great opportunity to do so.
And in the library.
Okay.
Well, they did not add it to the library. Yeah. So you already have this in your library. So.
Okay.
This is it.
Okay. This one's 53.
I don't know. I can't. She just sent it to me.
Okay. Okay.
Maybe she's got other questions on it. Try it.
Yep. HZLKO. All right, tis our new Nearpod code. So you'll need to do a little drop down arrow in your Nearpod and hit exit and then yes. And input this new code. HZLKO.
She says it is, but it's got more.
It's
got more.
the
Same one?
seems like the same one.
Did they not
Yeah,
have any of these questions?
They say that this isn't in their packet. Yeah, this is the same one.
I don't know what to do. So, what number were you on?
We were on this one.
So, do you have the answers to it? It shows the answers?
Yes,
Okay.
to these.
Let's just do it. Yeah. Yeah, we'll just do it that way.
Awesome, sounds good.
I'll do it and I'll stay here and answer.
Yes, that's what we reached the conclusion of. So, we will go through this one, and then in your groups, you will go over the answers that you prepared.
So like, will we get the correct answers?
There are two different questions.
Or if you guys happen to find it, you could just send it out in
Like a
mass
code, like an email to this? Is that
Or someone can just give her a packet and then can we just verbally talk about it? Yeah. I have just the questions. Yeah. I was just say I have that. If you want to just talk about it. If anyone has the answers.
Yes, they're two separate sets of questions. Those questions and the Nearpod questions. Yes,
I think there's 7.
but not for those questions.
What?
Okay.
I apologize for this because I just called the person that did this last semester, and she told me that that this was the one that went with the questions. This is not happening. I think we need to stick with this one. Do it. I'll stay in here and help answer the questions because the answers are there. If you have, why is that? And then I think that on this one, when I find these, I'll just mass email this to you. So you'll have studied this, and then you will have done this. So, and let's do about 25 of these because it's been, let's not go the whole time. So
Yep.
let's do that.
Awesome.
I'll stay and I'll help.
Sounds like a plan. All right, so this one we have already done, yes, but we have not gone to the correct answer.
Yes, we did. You went up to all the way to question 3. I think. 'Cause you did all the way to question 3. 'Cause you did all the way to question 3. 'Cause you did all the way to question 3. 'Cause you did all the way to question 3. 'Cause you did all the way to question 3. 'Cause you did all the way to question 3. 'Cause you did all the way to question 3. 'Cause you did all the way to question 3. 'Cause you did all the way to question 3. 'Cause you did all the way to question 3. 'Cause you did all the way to question 3. 'Cause you did all the way to question 3. 'Cause you did all the way to question 3. 'Cause you did all the way to question 3. 'Cause you did all the way to question 3. 'Cause you did all the way to question 3. 'Cause you did all the way to question 3. 'Cause you did all the way to question 3. 'Cause you did all the way to question 3. 'Cause you did all the way to question 3. 'Cause you did all the way to question 3. 'Cause you did all the way to question 3. 'Cause you did all the way to question
This is question 3.
Yeah, we talked about make no more than one error out of every 20 words minimum.
Yeah, we did.
Okay, awesome.
So that was submitted.
Okay, the answer was what? Not one error out of every how many?
20.
Okay, because why?
Because then they had frustration.
It's frustration, and the other thing, it can be the rule of 100, the first 100 words, and then it can be 5 of them. So you're doing 1 out of 20, or the MoCA might have 1 out of 5 out of 100. It's just do the math.
So 1 out of 20 or 5 out of 100. Dr. B, would you rather have the mic? Okay. Question number 4. Half of Mr. Ramirez's second grade class failed cause and effect sequential order quiz. The next day, Mr. Ramirez discusses the results with the class and asks why students might have failed the quiz. A common reply was students were not sure what the questions were asking. Which of the following would best be the best response by Mr. Ramirez? We have review the test document for errors or miscommunications, analyze the test to pinpoint areas with holes in the learning, have parents reteach the concepts, or arrange for tutoring to best serve individual student needs. Most of us are getting it correct. That's a good sign. And then the correct answer was what? A, review the test document for errors or miscommunications, because if your entire class fails a test, it's probably not the whole class, each individual student issue. It's probably a teaching issue. So you need to reflect on that test and make sure that it's testing what you think it should be testing. Question 5. Having students read a book or story and keep track of how many words they cannot pronounce and do not know the meaning of is an effective strategy to assess the student's independent reading level, assess the student's phonological awareness, administer a summative assessment, or administer a formative assessment. I don't know what you want from me, computer. Okay, so the correct answer was assess the student's independent reading level. Most of us answered assessing the student's phonological awareness. Why is it independent reading level? If we look back at the question, it not only says pronunciation, but also the meaning. So those two paired together would not be phonological.
How come it's not a formative assessment?
Because we're not sure how it's being graded, because it could be done along the way, or it could be at the end of unit. So we don't know where it's placed in relation to the lesson in unit. That's why we can't indicatively say why it's not a formative or summative assessment. Any other questions? Question 6. A student's reading fluency and word identification can be affected by various factors. Which answer choice encompasses the factors of fluency and word identification? We have understanding the purposes of reading, having a mastery of listening skills, home language, vocabulary development, and a learning disability, or understanding basic linguistic concepts. Yes. Just waiting on a couple people. So fluency and word identification is what of our answers? Yes, so understanding basic linguistic concepts. So it's not understanding the purpose of reading. And it's not mastery of listening skills. Listening skills has very little to do with word identification and literacy fluency. Are there any questions about that one? Question 7. Mrs. Taft, an upper elementary reading specialist, wants to promote instructional reading strategies with general classroom teachers. Therefore, Mrs. Taft begins several weeks of after-school in-service by teaching the staff how to guide their students and what to do before, during, and after reading. The first thing that Mrs. Taft teaches and models is ways that will enhance reading when students know what to do before reading, sometimes with the aid of the teacher. What is one of the most important strategies that students can do before reading? Our options are identify story elements, determine what the text is mainly about, have the teacher or another student read aloud the first pages of the story, or develop their own schema about the subject of the text. What's one of the primary before reading strategies? And that is develop their own schema. Schema and background knowledge are the primary indicator of how well a student will understand their text. So if it's a story that's completely unfamiliar to them, but they still can identify the words on the page, they're not going to retain much of it. That makes sense? Awesome. Question 8. What? Oh, it's just the next step. Ms. Taff, an upper elementary reading specialist, wants to promote instructional reading strategies with general classroom teachers. Therefore, Ms. Taff begins several weeks of after-school in-service teaching by teaching the staff how to guide their students and what to do before, during, and after. The next step that Ms. Taff teaches is what should be done by the students during the time they are reading. One of the most important steps is, so during reading, what is the most important step? We have visualize what the text is about and then begin to form questions, ask a partner or someone in a small group how to pronounce unknown words, build their schema about the topic with the aid of their teacher, or the teacher holds a book discussion about what is being read.
Everybody sign this because this is what we're going to evaluate answers to.
And what was the correct answer for that one? Yes.
Visualize what the text is about and then begin to ask questions.
Yes. So the visualization and having the metacognition to question that visualization and what they're actually comprehending about the text. Are there any questions about that one? Seeing none. Question 9. A 5th grade teacher wants to ensure that all her students know the elements or story grammar of a narrative text. Which of the following discussion topics would best promote students' retention of the narrative's elements? We have Venn diagrams, charts, and graphs, newspaper articles, magazines, and dictionaries, characters, setting, theme, plot, sequence, and solution, planning, drafting, revising, and editing. Which of the following discussion topics would best promote the narrative's element? Most of us are swooping in and getting it, so don't overthink this one. Okay, we had a couple friends leave. And the correct answer for that one is characters, setting, theme, plot, sequence, and solution. Which most of us got. Awesome. Question number 10. We're back to Mrs. Taft. This time it is after reading skills. So what is the best strategy for after reading? We have administering a test to another student or to the class by the teacher, determining how to make what they read more entertaining by drawing funny pictures about what might happen next, conducting research in order to find out something different about the topic or a story by the same author, or holding pair, group, or class discussion, dramatic play, paraphrasing the story, or write of key information. We are all getting this one too, so don't overthink it. And what was the correct answer? D, holding paired group or class discussions, dramatic play, paraphrasing the story, or writing of key information. So it's any way that they can further digest and interpret that story. So they're diving deeper to build understanding. So when you think of that one, think of your DOK. (11) Emergent literacy development means that emergent is the key phrase in this one. Children understand that written language has messages and makes sense. Children recognize many words that can apply phonics and word analysis skills. Students easily develop questions over what has been read. Or students have mastered the phonemic awareness skills, vocabulary development, and the ability to use... I'm not sure. You cut off. I don't know which one. Now, for those of you in literacy block right now, emergent literacy is something that you'll dive deeper into later in the semester. So do not freak. So the emergent literacy means that children understand that written language has messages and makes sense. So it's not just the letters and characters, but it's putting them together and connecting them to the real world and how we speak.
It's like emergent, what are the, isn't emergent the first one? Oh, I was thinking emergent. So why would it not, so how, okay, so I thought that it would be children recognize many words, blah, 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 instead of children can understand, because emergent, they're just realizing, you know what I'm saying?
They might not have a full understanding.
And then I was thinking that understand would be kind of begin levels.
Emergent comes with the depth for their oral language. So while they might not recognize all of the written yet, they could still have different levels. Does that make sense? Okay. Question number 12. Students in the 5th grade typically have a mastery of the elements of the alphabetic principle. Keyword, alphabetic principle. However, teachers need to have a clear understanding of this principle in order to be aware of any student's difficulties in this area. What are the elements of the alphabetic principle? Reading fluency, word identification skills, and letter names. Structural analysis, letter names, and the relationship of printed letters to spoken language. Phonemic awareness skills, schema development, and graphophonemic development. Letter names, graphophonemic knowledge, and the relationship of printed words to spoken language. Writing. And what was the correct answer to that one, since most of us got it? D, letter names, graphiophonemic knowledge, and the relationship of printed words to spoken language. So can someone in their own words tell me what the alphabetic principle is? Anyone? Alphabetic principle.
How reading involves how you speak, I guess.
It's basically recognizing like the written, like say letter B, and you know that it, like you can write B, and that's, you know that like, you pronounce it, but I guess it's like relating.
Yes.
Relating the phonemes to.
Yes, it's that one-to-one correspondence between the written letter and its sound. Thank you. Question 13. Teachers want to use their instructional time effectively and efficiently in order to enhance student learning. Therefore, they want to ensure that all activities will make the best use of this time in all areas, including literacy development. Which of the following activities will probably not promote literacy development? Reading aloud to students, holding book discussions and teaching them to make predictions, teaching students to self-monitor, visualize topics or events, and develop questions about the text, locating information, reading aloud and writing 1 day a week, and understanding test-taking strategies, or responding to the text after reading, such as with class discussions, retelling, dramatic plays, all those that we listed in our nice after strategies. Which of them will not promote literacy development?
How many of these questions are there?
We're not going to go through all of them.
Okay. How much longer are we doing this?
We will probably go for about 20 more minutes.
Long Mary Poppins tonight.
About 20 more minutes for these questions. If that's all right by you, Dr. B. Because we're already at 13 and you want to go through 20 of them, right? Okay, wonderful. All right. And our correct answer was locating information, reading aloud, and writing 1 day a week, and understanding test-taking strategy. Why would that not promote literacy development? Yeah, every day, not just on Mondays. They don't need to know how to read just on Mondays. They need to know how to read every single day, which means that we need to be reading and writing every single day. Wonderful. Question 14. Mrs. Rowe is preparing a test for her 5th grade social studies class. She has completed a unit on the American Revolution and wants to assess her students' understanding. What is an appropriate test to assess this type of information? So she wants to assess her students' understanding. Would you do a verbal screening device, a norm reference test, an informal reading inventory, a curriculum-based assessment? Which would best assess the student's understanding? Remember, when it comes to assessments, that we want to assess what we're teaching. making sure that our standards and objectives and assessments all align nicely. So this one we all got, and it was a curriculum-based assessment. Awesome. Our assessments and curriculum should align, so we're actually testing what we teach. Question 15. Which of the following strategies would be least appropriate for increasing fluency among 5th grade students? 5th grade students. Provide CDs and or DVDs for students to listen repeatedly while following along with the printed book. Consistently drill with the 500 to 1,000 most frequently occurring words they encounter until they recognize them. Have students reread passages silently or to a partner because the student's fluency increases with familiarity. Provide reading materials on many different levels and areas of interest. So which would be least appropriate for 5th grade students? And the correct answer would be consistently drill with the 500 to 1,000 most frequently occurring words they encounter until they can recognize them. Why does that not increase their fluency? Huh? Yeah. They might just give up on it. It also only teaches them to recognize those words, right? And immediate recognition and fluency is not the same thing. Which of those would have been the best practice?
Providing reading materials on the classes.
Yes. Diverse reading materials. Regardless of the grade, you always want a diverse library. That way students can find something that's on their level and that interests them. If you don't have the resources to have a diverse library in your own classroom, you need to make sure that you point them in the right direction to get the literature that they need. Awesome. Question 16, to best provide for increase of phonetic fluency rate, an elementary teacher would incorporate which of the following activities into the lesson? So we're looking at increasing phonetic fluency rate. I think we did. We did already have this one. This one should look familiar. I hope we get it. And this one was divide the students into pairs, provide each with copies of the text, and set a time. That way they're pairing and reading. Question 17. Research in the area of fluency instruction indicates repeated and monitored blank reading improves reading fluency. Is it character reading, silent reading, oral reading, or choral reading, with all students reading simultaneously? Yes.
So when answering, I feel like there are two, like most of the time, there are two right answers, but one is more correct than the other. How do we differentiate like which one is the most correct?
Okay. So the best way is to eliminate those two that you know are absolutely not an answer. And then what I've found with being in the actual testing scenario is go with your gut. And if I only have Richie as literacy experience for my block, but while I was taking the test, I was like, what would Richie say? What would she say? And I just like listen for her little voice in my head. And it worked, and I passed. So you can, on the test, flag questions. So if you have it down to 2 answers, and you're like, I think this one's right, but I'm not quite sure, flag that one. And then once you've finished all your questions, at the end, you'll have a time where you can review all your answers before you submit them.
Do we have an option to like edit on there to like scratch out? You know what I'm talking about? I love those tests too. So you can highlight and like X out. Yeah.
You don't have that option, but what you do have is a little dry erase pad. So if you want to just be like A, B, C, D, and then put the number by it and go scratch, scratch, you can.
And then I know we get results if we pass, fail, like directly after we take the test. Say we fail it by like so many, like just a few minor points. Well, when will we know that? Does it take like 100 years to get that ELA? Like I think I waited for that till, you know, the cows came home.
That's a tricky question because if you go onto their website, they like send out the scores in batches. And so you may have to wait a month and a half, but you may have to wait 2 weeks. It depends where in that like batch you fall. But you will get an email as soon as they send it out. And on their website, they have like the time like brackets. Does that answer your question? Awesome. All right. Correct answer. Correct answer was oral reading. So reading out loud. Because what is ever important? Hearing it. What is the first lesson we teach in our literacy block? Interactive read aloud. That's because they're so important. If you're in a classroom, I suggest reading to those kiddos every day. Every day. Out loud. Because you can read at a higher reading level than they can, which exposes them to an even wider range of words and ideas. Awesome. Question 18. A teacher asked an open-ended question in a 5th grade classroom about a literary piece the class just finished. The students are required to give their answer with support directly from the text. This is to assess and improve which of the following? We have comprehension, sequencing, fluency, or vocabulary. So where would they have to back up their answers by going and referring back to the text? And what was our correct answer? Comprehension. Because when you go back and back up your answer, you are going back to find details that are actually in the text to make sure that you understood them the way that they are in the text. Yes? Awesome. Question 19. A third grade independent reading program should consist of. So third grade. We have matching successful reading material and enjoyment level, reading material that is grade level appropriate and reading aloud to the teacher independently for fluency, having partner reading with evaluation built into the assignment, or persuasive and expository text for reading material. All right, so this one was split close to the middle. So the correct answer was matching successful reading material with enjoyment level. Most of us answered reading material that is grade level appropriate and reading aloud to teacher independently for fluency. So what makes A a better response?
Because like you want it to be like have a successful reading material, like if you said that's age appropriate, but you also enjoy it because they're alone. Like if it's something they don't enjoy, they're not going to be like encouraged to read it independently.
Yes.
So, like, have it.
Yes. The key for that was independent reading program. For different literacy in third grade, you might have some that is read aloud and tested because third grade is that crucial grade, right? Where most of our students should be on an independent and fluent level. Because through third grade, they're learning to read, whereas fourth and on, they're reading to learn. So that's also another, I don't know if it's going to pop up in these questions, but that's another one to remember, is that third grade is when that switch happens, by the end of third grade. Question number 20. Mr. Peters wants to provide more independent reading material for his fourth grade students. This means that he will need to listen to a number of students read aloud short passages from various reading materials, and that these students will. So, independent reading, fourth grade. They will not become frustrated no matter what they read, make no more than 8 errors out of every 80 words, make no more than 1 error out of every 20 words, stop frequently to ask about word pronunciation. This one should seem familiar. So that ratio that Dr. B was talking about is 1 to 20 or 5 out of 100, because it's at 5%. We'll go through a couple more and then we'll take just general what's the test like questions. And I'll field them as best I can as a person who has taken it and gone through it. Question 21. An elementary certified teacher must know the following terms concerning fluency in the classroom. We have textual context, drafting, and publishing, rubric, formative and summative assessment, genre, expository and narrative text, or pragmatics, syntax, and semantics. Which one of these is related to fluency? Most of us answered pragmatics, syntax, and semantics. That is the incorrect answer. Our correct answer is genre, expository, and narrative text, because those are our different forms of text. Instead of our components. So terms versus components. There's a lot of those tricky wording in this test especially. The ELA is the one that has the tricky wording. Math is probably the one that's going to take you the longest. And social studies is the one that has random facts. And that's why so many people have to retake it. Social studies. ELA is the one that's terminology is tricky. So I highly encourage you that right around the end of your literacy block, when you're reviewing all your material, even if there's an open slots during finals week, do it then while it's fresh in your brain. Yes.
I'm in middle school education, so what would literacy block be? Do you know?
For middle,
First, like head one?
I would talk to your advisor and see when they recommend taking it. I just know that that's for elementary and then elementary add-ons
Okay.
is what they recommend. Awesome. Question 22. Mrs. De La Cruz teaches a mixed ability 5th grade class with a number of ELL students. ELL students is important in it. She is finding it challenging for her students to understand the connotative meaning of many words and visual images. What is connotative meaning? The meaning derived from the use of a chart or graph. The meaning resulting from the use of a rubric. The meaning derived from various hints, suggestions, or feelings. The clear, specific meaning often derived from the dictionary. Here, the stark difference is connotative versus denotative. Which, if you're in lit block, you'll get to in your second portion. Yes, so it is the meaning derived from various hints, suggestions, or feelings. This one on the MoCA can be tricky because they ask for connotations of different words. I remember one that specifically asked me whether slim, thin, or skinny had the worst connotation. So some of those are weird. Just know that going into it.
Was it skinny?
I think it was actually thin, because our generation would think it would be skinny. It wasn't. Tricky. So when you're thinking of connotations, this particular question mentions ELLs. A lot of our connotative meaning comes from our background knowledge and our culture. So walking into a classroom, know that different words are going to have different connotations for different people, depending on their background and their cultures. Question 23. 50% of a second grade class fails the test covering cause and effect and sequential order. To best serve the students in moving forward, which of the strategies would be the best strategy? Did we have this one already? Yeah, we did. Point the finger at yourself first. So if your whole class is failing, they're not failing, you are. I have to click on here. What? That's not right. That one's a repeat, and the correct answer is A. You should look at the test for errors. Because again, if your entire class is failing, it's not on them. It's on you. Okay, we'll cover two more, then general questions. Which of the following would be the most important in the classroom assessment? We have every stage of higher thinking on each assessment, personal opinion, formative and summative, or personal reflective journals. So which would be the most important in classroom assessment? The correct answer is formative and summative. I think the next highest answer was every stage of higher level thinking on each assessment. Not every single assessment needs to go all the way up to your higher level thinking. Some of them are just quick formative assessments to make sure that when you're building background knowledge that some of it's sticking. So not every single assessment that you give needs to be that higher order. That's what you're striving for, that's where you're going towards. But you gotta lay the foundation of just basic recognition before you can get them up there. Yeah? Dr. B, you look lost. Oh, okay. I think it's 23, 24? 24? And 25. Having students orally read a book while keeping track of how many words they cannot pronounce is an effective way to assess which of the following. So we're focusing on pronunciation. Independent reading level, criterion reference state test, information, or formative assessment. So what's the correct answer for that last one? 8, independent reading level. Because it wouldn't just be information, because it's just how they pronounce it. It wouldn't necessarily be a formative assessment, although it could be. And a criterion reference state test. State tests generally don't cover just pronunciation. Awesome. Are there any questions for me about what the actual process of taking the ELA MoCA is like? Has everyone gone on and registered? You probably should have for the MoCA. It's the same account, same website. This time you'll be registering for the MoCA. Now when you register for the MoCA, your first step is just paying for it and putting it on your docket. And it lasts X number of months. I think it's like 3 or 4 when you pay for it. Just a second. And then your second step, you actually have to schedule a time. So if you pay for it, that's all fine and dandy, but you're not going to be able to actually take that test until you say, I want to take it here at this time. That's what secures your seat, and that's when you show up at either testing services here, or if you want to take it back home when you're on break. Yes, David. Yes, because it's the Missouri Educators General Assessment, Gateway Assessment, because that's the umbrella of all the like testing services.
Is there 7 number like?
Yeah, 7, but I did 9 and 10 when I can design.
If you pick one of the tests, isn't ours or ELA with a 7 in it?
I think it's 007.
I don't know.
007.
Okay.
Would you suggest taking, like, going in and taking all, there's 4 of them, isn't there? Taking all 4 of them, or taking, like, 1 at a time, or, like, 2 and 2?
It depends how you take your tests. I would definitely not take all 4 of them, because it's a lot of staring at a screen in one room, and if you take all 4 of them, I'm pretty sure you only get like 1 or 2 breaks, if that. Yeah. And then for the ELA MoCA, that's actually in a like secure room. So you have to sit down, and then have you all seen where they have like ISS rooms where they have the blinders that you can only see where you're at, and it's like a little tiny cubicle of doom?
It's on pen and paper.
I subbed in mine.
No, it's on a computer. But that's where you're taking your test for the ELA. For your other 3, you can take those in a less restrictive environment that is like a computer lab.
So do you, like, if you're taking ELA and math or something, you move? Like, after you take the ELA, if you move?
I think they would probably just keep you in that room.
Okay.
So that's one downside to taking ELA paired with another, is that you would have to be in that specific room.
Okay. When I just took them the other day, I took the science, social studies, and math. They had me in a little cubicle also.
That's an option, but it's not mandatory.
I was saying everybody that took one that day, if they were taking the MoCA, they all took it. They took all of us in there. So
Okay.
some people had to wait until other people were done to take the cubicle ones.
They might have changed it since last semester, but I know that for here at SEMO, when you sign up, our testing services actually has 2 different like codes and addresses, and one of them is the secure room and one of them is the computer lab. When you go to sign up and you have the ELA in there, it will only give you one option because it's only offered there. Are there any other questions, clarifications, what have you?
You have explained why not to take all of them at one time because of fatigue.
Yes.
But also, the reason why people do the 4 is why? Because it's cheaper. It's just a little bit less expensive, and that's the enticement. But if you're going to take ELA with another one, take it with the best subject that you have, because that ELA is very important also, and that's the only one that you're learning now. But math, science, social studies, if you pass MoCA, you should be able to pass it because you've already taken all the classes.
You should be able to knock those out. Again, social studies, random facts. So if you need to review for social studies but can't make it to any of the social study review dates, if you go on YouTube, go to the Edvolution page.
Is it just social studies or social studies and science? Because they kind of combine them in
It's separate.
Or separate, okay.
Yes.
Tell
Mhm.
them that,
I don't know if there's anyone still with us,
well,
for the record.
social studies, study guides that the dean has, many students have said that was tremendously helpful, especially if they weren't strong in session. So our materials down on.
That's the one that's on Moodle, right?
on the-
Yes. Emphasizing again, go on Moodle, go to the College of Education page, go under the MoCA review. There should be something that references students, like student feedback and questions and what have you. That is a very long PDF. It's not the best organized, but it has good information there of the random things that are on the social studies test. Yes.
How do we get that on our
It's not on yours? Okay, then you need, who do they need to talk to for that?
The dean's administrative assistant, Tammy Stover.
Which is across there, yeah. So the College of Ed dean, that's, the office is right over there. Yes, David?
Do you recommend taking MA tutor before you take the math section?
I didn't and I still passed.
That's not how to get that lucky.
Me either, I'm taking it this summer.
I am too. And
I'll just easy.
Tuesday night, 6 o'clock, we're going to see Annie for math.
Tuesday night, next week? Tuesday night next week, we're having a math MoCA review at 6 here in 312. You do not need to prepare anything unlike the ELA MoCA that you did. Is that all?
Presenter will go over questions like why that answer was correct.
Thank you, thank you.